I know we have nursing faculty here and some students, and we have some social work faculty here, and I don't know, maybe some social work students. But just really, really grateful and delightful to have you all come. I'm Dana Murphy Parker. For some of you, maybe you haven't met me. I know I haven't met everybody yet. I just started here this particular semester, and I'm just delighted to be here. And I want to introduce to you our guest speakers today, both of them from the Middlesex University in London, England, and Dr. Carmel Clancy here, who I've known for 19 years. We've been working together for 19 years in the area of addictions nursing. And Carmel is, as I said, a nurse, but she's head of the entire mental health department at Middlesex University in London. And then we also have with us our colleague, Dr. Trish Hafford Letchfield, who is, of course, a social worker. And I'm sure that you'll get a little bit of an idea from them as they talk today where their specialties lie. But just really delighted to have them here, and thank you again for coming. Okay? I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you, Dana.
You bet.
And thank you to all of you for coming. We're very grateful to have an audience. Trish and I can talk forever. So just for one person in front of us and we'll chat. So we're really pleased we have so many. So thank you for giving up your time. And thank you to Dana, particularly, for the invitation and subsequently hosting us so beautifully in her own home. We're very grateful. Hopefully you will get to know Dana. As Dana says, I know her for 19 years, and I can tell you, she hasn't paid me, but I can tell you she's a very special person. And she is a leading leader and expert in addiction and addiction nursing and mental health. And I'm just very excited to see the development that she's going to be doing here at Widener. And I have to say, having known her when she was at Drexel as well, I think that having come to Widener, I have to say this is a beautiful campus. And I really feel, I hope nobody won't be offended with Drexel, but actually this feels nice.
We think so as well.
We don't disagree.
Well, yeah.
And it's very friendly, it's got a lovely campus to it, and it kind of resonates with our campus actually back in London, so it made me immediately feel at home. So thank you for that, and thank you, Dana, for setting this all up. It's
my pleasure.
So what we're going to do, myself here and colleague Trish, we're going to kind of give you a whistle-stop tour. But we will try and reasonably keep a pace so that we can get to the end so that we have a little bit of discussion, Q&A, because we're hoping that this will generate some questions about how we might collaborate and work together, because we see this at the beginning of a beautiful relationship, we hope. So let us tell you a little bit about ourselves first. So I get to introduce the university and a little bit about who Trish and I are, so you can kind of situate us in the world and see where we kind of may or may not kind of map to you guys. And then Trish and I are going to, well, Trish particularly is going to take a lead then on what you may particularly have come here to hear about, which is the work we've been doing digitally in relation to addiction and with this specific population, with the older population. So just about who are we and our introduction. So this is Trish and myself. We're looking very serious.
Yeah, but yours is a professional photo, mine's a selfie.
That's a nice one.
But you know something.
Yeah, she's very good.
Oh,
but really, forget the photos. What is, I think how Trish and I would identify ourselves with. I'm a nurse, and she's a social worker. Okay, that's what we are. And hopefully that will come through our presentation, but it certainly sort of oscillates or sort of aligns with our values. And so, you know, I can be professor this or I can be doctor that, but at the heart of it, I'm a nurse. And that's how I'm going to relate with you, and hopefully you'll relate back with me. And Trish is a nurse and a social worker. She's quite special.
Speaks both languages.
She speaks both languages. But she's now particularly leading, and she's one of the leaders in my department in social work. She's one of the senior managers and professional leaders there in social work. So we're both a nurse and a social worker at our heart. So this is a little bit about who we are as a university, our lovely university. So just some basics. So this is, if you came up, you know, a bit like your campus here, you'd come onto a main road, and as you came up, you'd see flags saying, you know, Middlesex. We're based in a neighbourhood called Hendon, which is actually a very Jewish neighbourhood. Hood and Jewish Orthodox. You see lots of people with their yeah, exactly, and you know, their tassels, and so it's quite ethnic in that sense. But it's a typical North London campus, what we call a North London campus. So this is what our main building as you come in. This is a college building, and it's beautiful inside. Just behind that, we have some photos, but it's got a glass ceiling. Big, huge, high glass ceiling, and it's called the Quad, and that's where people hang out and have coffee and chat. And it's a cozy campus, so we share offices. We don't have nice, big, spacious offices, so that's often where we go to meet our students or staff if you just want to have a chat. But it's nice, you get to have a coffee. We're also based, obviously our mothership is in London, so you can see here on the globe, but you can see we go down. We're actually in Malta, we're in Dubai, and we're also in Mauritius. So we have campuses across, and so for our Mauritius campus, it's our portal into Africa in terms of, because, you know, I'm sure you're the same international, you're trying to drag in money and students from everywhere, bums on seats, we say. So basically that's our bums on seats strategy in terms of reaching out. And of course, people are very interested and keen, as I'm sure they are with the United States. They're very keen to get an education from a university in England because we happen to have good reputation similar like the USA. So we give portals into our campuses there. In terms of the numbers, we're divided in the way we're set out. We have one big university, but we have 3 faculties, and I'll come to that in a moment. We have 37,000 students, and of which approximately 19,000 are in, or well, about 19,000 are in and around London. We have 1,800 staff, and within that is the faculty, so that's 1,800 in total. We have a thing called the NNS, which is the National Student Survey, NSS, and it is an independent poll that's taken outside of the university systems, where students at the point of graduation, undergraduate students, so 3rd year finalists, graduates, they are contacted independently by this organisation that's run nationally, and they're asked for their opinion of the university, having studied there for 3 years. And we are then all ranked by a student satisfaction rating, which will include, you know, what about the facilities, about the teaching, about, you know, and so we're all trying to vie for that and get as close to the 100%. We're roughly around 83%, which is okay, but in our own subject specialties, you can actually go behind, and in our subject specialties, we're at around 98%. So we're much happier. We bring up the university overall. We do tell them, nursing and social work do that. We also bring in a lot of money to them as well. And here we've got about 55,000. So this says textbooks. Our students, because they pay approximately £9,000 sterling per year for an undergraduate degree. So about £27,000 to take a degree course with us. But if you add living costs, all of that, they come out with usually around a debt of about £50,000 for a basic degree course. So it's quite expensive if you look, you know, in terms of rates of employment and income.
Is that
a year or
total?
Oh my God, no, we're way more expensive.
Yeah, you guys are more expensive. We know that. We think that's really expensive.
Oh, okay.
And in order to bring students in, you have to do lots of things for them. So part of the things we do for our students when they come in, they get a free textbook for every course they take. An electronic textbook. So the core textbook they get and they can hold for the rest of their lives. They get it electronically free. So for every course they take on that degree, they'll get that.
All their reading is
electronic. All the reading is electronic. So basically all our essential reading for your course, our librarians work with us, and you click on that and it takes you through to the papers, academic papers we might want you to read, or chapters in books we want you to read. It takes you all there electronically, but you also get your own textbooks. You also get free printing if you're a student with us. So if you want to print anything off, you can print for free. So these are some of the kind of things. So we're not trying to rob your students, so don't worry. But these are some of the things we're trying to do to keep our students satisfied and happy. And then this gives you just a little, it's not a great picture, so I'm sorry for that. But this kind of tells you, this little border here is called the M25. It's the motorway around, and it literally circles around the whole of London. And if you have been over to the UK, so it's literally this motorway that goes around. If you live outside that motorway, you're kind of in the sticks as far as we're concerned in London. Well, that's not true. But if you're inside that, then you're in London, and London is huge, as you can imagine. So if you think about this, is right here. It says London here. This means the centre, this kind of the city part. We're here. We're on a tube line, and we're on the Northern Line, and it's the Hendon Central is our tube stop. But you're almost at the end of the tube stop when you get to our campus. Okay, so we're right out on the kind of the edge of London, but we're still a London campus, and that's really important from the branding. So a little bit about the three faculties. So we have a Faculty of Arts and Creative Industries, and that's another one of our buildings. We have Faculty of Science and Technology, and then we have a Faculty of Professional and Social Sciences. And within that faculty, we have three schools. We have a School of Law, School of Health and Education, and a School of Business. And where Trish and I are situated, we're in this school, and we're in this Department of Mental Health and Social Work. So we have responsibility for teaching both undergraduate and postgraduate students who are studying mental health nursing or psych nursing at undergraduate level. It's a pre-qualifying course. So you would choose to come in to do nursing, but you will come out as a psychiatric nurse at an undergraduate degree level, not postgrad. It's not a specialty, it's an undergraduate. Okay? And so we have responsibility for training and teaching those students, plus we have postgraduate students in that subject.
Yes, Carmel, where do the rest of your nursing people go?
So they're in this school as well, but they're in another department that's called Adult and Child Nursing and Midwifery.
Thank you.
So those fields of nursing are looked after by my colleague, Dr. Sinead Meaden. But we work very much hand in glove, we have to, because a lot of the courses are core courses that our students have to take and adult child students have to take, particularly anatomy and physiology, you know, sort of basic nursing 101, all of those kind of things, and skills they all do together. But when it comes to mental health courses, they take them with my department, and I have all the faculty that are psychiatric nurses.
So students come in having to know, they have to know what they want to specialize in.
Yes, when I'm recruiting students and interviewing them, they will say, I want to be a psychiatric nurse. I want to be a child nurse. I want to be an adult nurse.
Okay.
Or I want to be a midwife.
Wow.
That's a European way of doing education.
Yeah.
You decide right
Early
before
on.
you walk in the door.
Yeah.
And do they take a licensing exam?
They all
Is it
get
specific?
registered. Yes. You get on. We have Nursing Midwifery Council, and on that register, there is a section for a psychiatric nurse to be licensed and certified, an adult nurse to be certified, and a ped nurse to be certified.
Wow.
So as a psychiatric nurse, I can only work in psychiatric services.
And then if you want to expand or change,
I can take a top off. So I'm a dual qualified nurse. I started as an adult nurse and I trained as an adult nurse, and then I did a further 18 months to do psychiatric certification.
Gotcha.
So I got two.
Now, what if you want to be an emergency nurse where you see everything across the
Yeah, you could be employed as a psych nurse or an emergency nurse in that department.
Okay.
But you will only be able to do certain tasks, functions based on
What if you can't say
based on-
child and adults then?
Interesting.
you call it a jewel?
a dual
Jewel.
qualification.
Dual.
Oh,
Jewel. I'm thinking jewel. It's a lovely term.
So that kind of just tells you, yeah, the education is quite different. The significant thing, just to give you because we could probably give you a whole presentation on all the different trainings, which I know as educationalists you're interested in. But the significant thing that's happened in nursing, we're in crisis in the UK at the moment. We're in crisis for a couple of reasons. One is that we've got rid of our bursary. We have what's known as the NHS, the National Health Service. So our health is free at the point of access. You can go to your primary care physician, you can go anywhere, you can get free care. Okay, you don't need to have any insurance, nothing. Okay, nothing. You can get a prescription. If you pay for a prescription, that's if you're working. You can usually get your prescriptions for free. If you work, that's the only thing you pay for, and it's about £6. Okay, it's very cheap for your prescribing. So we have always had to prepare our workforce for a health service that's free. So in order to get people to come in and train to be nurses, they were given a bursary. They were paid, their education was paid for, and they were giving a living stipend. That's been removed. As of from last September, all nurses have to pay for their education like any other degree course. They have to pay £9,000. They get a government loan, okay, which is better than the bursary. So on a day-to-day basis, they're better while they're training, but they have to now pay that back. Nurses will pay that back 50,000 they'll come out with a debt, and they will have to pay back that. Starting salary for a nurse, a general nurse, would be on a band 5, which is around £27,000.
$40,000, $42,000.
Yeah.
But that's, I mean, yeah, that's, but
That's
their
low.
debt's a lot less.
The debt is a lot less, but that's a big debt to carry, and
Yeah.
particularly living in London.
Yeah.
So we have the same crisis globally that nursing has, a demographic that's getting older. We have now seen an absolute backlash to that. Our recruitment figures have dropped significantly. We are not getting the numbers coming forward. We are in absolute meltdown. And we're also about to completely and utterly revamp our revalidation. We're waiting for our new educational standards. We're supposed to have had them over a year ago. They're only now going to produce those in March. We've been waiting to revalidate our nursing courses for 3 years. So we're in a crisis, absolute crisis.
As a kelp, and then I'll fix everything.
Wow.
Yeah.
So we're just, watch this space, because, UK is in serious problems with its health, as it is in social care, but that's another whole big challenge because of money. So that just kind of gives you a quick flavour of where we're situated. This is our department, so we have about 1,000 students studying with us in our department.
I just have a real quick question. Could one more time you pronounce the word midwifery?
Midwifery.
Okay, we say midwifery. I was hearing midwifery, like not as enunciating the ER part.
Oh yeah, no, but that could be just
Midwifery. Okay.
MID. Midwifery. WIFERY.
Right. So we spell the same,
Yeah.
the same, slightly differently.
The accent on the first
accent.
Midwifery.
Midwifery.
Midwifery. That's it. Midwifery. Okay.
Yeah, I speak so fast, that's true. So we have 1,000 students, give or take, and we've got, so that's, it's a big department, a lot of students, we have about 72 plus staff. Now all our staff are tenured, okay, which is different again for you guys. They're all tenured, okay, and we have 5 professors. So our professors, when you're a professor in our university, you're a very senior member of staff. You only get to be called professor if you're an academic professor with a PhD, okay, and you're working in research, or sort of you get to assistant professor, associate professor, but you cannot call yourself professor. You can only be professor if you're appointed by the university as a professor. But everybody is tenured. So we have associate professors, we have senior lecturers, we call them. We have lecturers, associate lecturers, we have graduate academic assistants, so they kind of help and support. Clinical tutors, so we have clinical tutors who work out in practice. You have something like that, I think, similarly. Yeah. Research staff, project staff, admin, tech staff, that kind of stuff. So kind of similar, I think. We have about 15 academic programs and multiple what we call CPD, which is continuing professional development. These are short courses that you take. And that people come in who are already practitioners and they want to top up in some way, they want to take a master's, they'll take modules and courses with us. We have 14 what we call our stakeholders, key stakeholders. We are all, our students when they go on placements have to go into the trusts or into local authorities, which are social services. So we have 2 massive mental health trusts which pretty much cover the whole of North London, and all our students are placed there. The trusts have to take these students. Okay, we're in partnership with them. They have to take them. So we have 50% responsibility, which is the theory. They have 50% for practice. So their staff are mentors automatically.
Wow.
In local authority, slightly different. We have to engage local authority. They don't have to take our students, but it's in their interest to do so. And we have a very good relationship, so they do. And then we have practice educators who are like mentors, and we pay those practice educators directly to take our students. So a slightly different relationship. But we have lots of those. We have 3 research centres that our department is responsible for. One, which you'd expect maybe because of drugs and alcohol, but it's called DARC, so it's Drugs Alcohol Research Centre. We have Transcultural Studies in Health, which is led by Rena, who's one of our professors. And we have a new centre which we set up last year in co-production and mental health. Do you use the term co-production? It's co-production is with service users. So it's co-producing and
peer
patients,
specialists.
peer specialists, and they come in and they teach and they do research with us, but it's all about the co-creation of curriculum, practice, interventions.
Yeah.
So that's that focus of that research lab. And then we have lots of people who want to run courses outside the university, but they need it to be accredited. So we provide accreditation. So we will act as the quality assurance educational provider, and we pay them for, they have to pay us for that service. So we have about 30 organizations we're working in, giving them accreditation for their courses. It's extra money for us.
Like you.
Extra money for us. So that's 100%. We're very fortunate. All our students get employed. Our social work students and our mental health nursing students, they'll get a job from us. We've got such a good reputation. Plus, there are jobs. We like to say it's our reputation, but there are actually jobs at the moment. And these are our NSS scores I was telling you about in our disciplines. So 96% for social work and 93%. We have had 100 for mental health. That was just a crowd that we're just decided. And we're the same. So we're called what's known as a post-92 university. So that kind of just tells you our status. Our actual educational status as an institution dates back to the 1800s, 1840, when we were kind of technical colleges and institutions, and then we merged and merged and merged. And in 1992, we were given royal assent to allow us to become a university. And it happened in many places around the UK. And we're known as a post-92. It kind of tells you we're new kids on the block in terms of university status, although we've been around since the 1800s as educationalists. But that's snobbery as well, because there's the red bricks. Oxford, Cambridge, University of London, they get all the big money, okay? They have all the endowments, all right? Yeah, so we're the new kids. But we're quite agile, because we're the new kids, we can do things that they can't do. And so there's value of us being partners, and we're a lot of partnership working between modern universities and red bricks, because we can do things slightly differently. So, we try not to be too competitive, but it's kind of helpful. 90%, well, it's about a 90 to 100%. Social work, we're number one in London, as the number one school in London, and we're number 7 in the country out of 78 universities. So we have a very high ranking with our social work discipline. And in nursing is in under nursing. So this is mental health nursing, but we actually are in with all of our nursing colleagues. So we can't necessarily tease out exactly how great mental health nursing is, because we're in with the rest. We think we're about 3rd in London, and we're around 45th in the UK out of 78 different institutions. So we're holding our own around the middle part. So that's it. Just kind of hopefully gives you a flavour of who we are and how it might vibe with your own institution. And then we'll pick up any other questions you might have. But I'm going to hand over now, because we're going to go into the digital part, and Tricia's going to pick that up.
So what we thought we would do is just try and showcase to you a initiative that we did last year? Last year. And
we ran it last year. Up to Christmas.
Up to Christmas, just before Christmas. So we just started to do an evaluation, a more formal evaluation. But we really wanted to bring the disciplines together, professional disciplines together, but also around the addictions. And what we chose as our topic, given that I'm a professor of older people, so I do a lot of research around ageing, and Carmel does a lot of research in problematic substance use. So we know that this is a really serious problem worldwide. In developing countries, and I think who's been picking up on it. But in the UK, we have a really growing problem of older people and problematic substance use, particularly around alcohol. And thinking about the baby boomers, those people that are getting older who like to have it. I'm sure none of you do that. Yeah, and we know, Carmel and I have been talking over the years, because Carmel's PhD was all about getting problematic substance use into the water supply, into the education curriculum. And in social work, I know that there's very little, it's a lot squeezed in there. And there's, a couple of sessions there. But when people go out into practice, again, they shy away from it. And last year I did some work, research with social workers, trying to encourage them to, we trained them in brief advice, screening, brief advice, intervention, signposting. It's about 50 social workers we were working with some focus groups, and they all came up with the same thing. You know, we don't really want to reveal this problem, because if we reveal it, we've got to deal with it, and we don't feel prepared to deal with it. And also, so many ethical dilemmas for them. You know, they're overwhelmed, their workload, very of shying away from risk, and not knowing what the resources are. So, you know, we're interested in, this is a problem in education. 40 years, I was reading Dana's paper the other day, 40 years we haven't moved much in terms of having problematic substance use embedded into professional education, even though I think in 80% of a children, families, social workers' workload, there will be some problem around problematic substance use. We know it's a pressing issue globally, and the other thing is we're trying to think about what can we learn across borders, because it's not just confined to UK. What can we learn from other partners? And I'm going to talk a bit about the two partners we've been connecting with, one in Australia and one in New Zealand. Both of those governments have commissioned workforce development strategies. So they're really well developed in the way in which they actually taken it seriously and preparing the workforce, or preparing evidence-based guidelines and really embedding those. We thought we've got quite a lot to learn from them. So I'm not sure that they're worth looking up if you're not familiar with them. Mataraki in New Zealand and NCETA at Flinders University, Australia. Fantastic resources, workforce development centres in problematic substance use. And, you know, even just looking at our own statistics in the UK, we know that a high rate of hospital admissions, when people coming in not being screened, particularly in London, we've got a big growing issue amongst our black minority population where social workers, say if we've got the Muslim population, they don't want to screen because they think, you know, they don't drink. And then the person goes into the ward and escalates into, you know, some cardiac problem. So really trying to unpick some of these statistics around the use of our ambulance services, the use of our accident emergency services, hospital, when people are discharged with no appropriate support when they've got an alcohol issue, for example. So we really wanted to we chose this as a topic that we could really try and think, how can we collaborate around and learn and create a learning community around this issue? So what we did, I don't know, are you familiar with Mass Online, MOOCs, Mass Online Open Access? We weren't. It's a big adventure for us. But we wanted to go digital, we wanted to get in the real world. So we chose this topic, falling down. Services are falling down, people are falling down drunk. Who else is falling down?
Well, services,
Education's falling down. So we called it falling down.
And you talked about people's behaviors in nursing care homes as well.
Oh,
Yes.
certainly.
You know, that almost they're not eating and they're not drinking because they're like falling down and wanting to die.
Yeah.
So I don't know if you're familiar with FutureLearn, which is quite a very nice platform. It's free to use, but you obviously use it for brand. You know, if you run a short course on FutureLearn, it's really good for branding yourselves. So we had these. So we decided to run a 5-week course on older people, problematic substance use. We didn't have a target audience. It was an open. We wanted everybody's voices. And we were very committed to service users and patients' voices at Middlesex University, and from public. It's a big public health issue, so we wanted people to enter into the learning community. And so it was quite a challenge to really think about how do you create learning resources that are appealing to, because we had MDs, doctors, psychiatrists, we had epidemiologists, specialists, the laypersons, people who have drinking issues or problematic substance use themselves.
People who are in recovery.
Yeah, really.
Yeah, they all joined.
Wow.
Yeah.
So
and we had
because
to-
this is-
that's neat. Yeah.
because this platform has got that kind of sort of open, open access, we chose that platform and we designed our materials to try and meet all of those
Just to
needs.
say, just in terms of the team, obviously Trish and I did this, but the Mataraki team, it was a social worker, Anna Nelson, and her colleague Susie, who is actually in recovery, an older person in recovery, who works as a member of staff in the Mataraki. So we had actually the voices already, they were co-created the whole curriculum with us, as did NSETA, and we had faculty staff there. So we had service users, practitioners, and academics all working together across the 3 institutions.
Cool. Getting the phone call slightly.
Yeah, we're getting the Skype meeting locally at the right time, that they were in the next day and we were in the day behind as well.
Yeah, those are the more practical
They are
things.
the
But
practical
the thing is that Mataraki and NSETA have most fabulous learning materials, and even their recorded conference materials, which was really a good platform for them to get them out to a wider audience. So these were our 4 learning aids.
Exactly.
Yeah, well, we're going to go into, so what we're going to do is we're going to take you into the platform so you can see. And again, we are running this in May, and we will be inviting you at the end to join us, our course in May, as an observer participant. You can follow it. It's about
Oh, are you on a computer?
I'm on my computer, but I did have.
But you asked Andrew to connect you to the,
Yeah, I did get connected. It's gone off, isn't it? It's gone off.
maybe I can log in with me. See if we're on the Widener Wi-Fi.
Go to that password settings and see if you can go to password settings and then see if you can log in.
No. I
No,
can
look for
stay here,
email
it's just that there's no internet. I need to reconnect.
Where do you see on your
And I can't see how. I don't see how.
I'll run get Andrew.
Yes. This is
Sorry,
the part where I
guys.
class,
Yes, this is.
and everything falls down.
Do you know puppetry?
Huh?
Puppetry?
Puppetry, yeah.
I'll talk to you a little bit while we're waiting. Yeah, so just to give you a little bit of background to the course, so it was run over 5 weeks. In hindsight, maybe next time we will condense it more into 3 weeks, because I think, we're just super duper over providers. You know what it's like when you're doing the thing for the first time, you're going out to such a wide audience, you just want to be perfect. But now we realise we're actually fallible human beings, we need to calm down a bit. But
we think we're getting connected now. Okay.
so it was run over 5 weeks, and the learner, you register free. You can register to get a certificate at the end. I think it's £67. That's any individual. That's what Future Learn gets out.
Yeah, we don't get anything.
We had 1,200 people register from all over the world. We had 49% people from the UK, and then we had. Oh, we're there.
We're getting.
We're getting there, sorry.
37 seconds and we're into it.
Yeah. So we had 38. Obviously, that's obvious because we were doing a lot of marketing. But we divided it into 5 weeks. So the first week was, well, what's the problem? And we tried to use really simple terminology. That was quite a big challenge for us. As professionals, we do use a lot of jargon. But we literally, one of the weeks, we were falling down. Towards the end, the module was called Getting Back Up Again. What do we need to get back up again? Yeah. And
I got it.
got it?
Yeah, no,
I just Andrew just logged in. I just gave her my username.
So we're just going to see if this works, Andrew, but if you can hang on for a minute.
Yeah,
just to
because
make
your
sure.
laptop's not registered. Yeah.
No, I used mine.
I know, I'm saying prior, that's why we had to do that.
Did it die again?
No, come out of your browser and go back in.
Come out.
Yeah. Like all the way out. Close Chrome.
Okay.
So at the very beginning, we got everybody. The first thing I'm going to show you.
I
is-
registered. I gave her my username and password and registered.
Thank you. I did get a guess pass.
So one of the, just this whole thing about working, about this issue cross-culturally is quite, I feel like I've really learned quite a lot. One of the things that we wanted to do was, with Indigenous communities in New Zealand, it's very, very important, the Maori people in New Zealand, and they were very keen that we had what they called a course blessing at the beginning by the Maori elder. So we created a time-lapse photography with an elder blessing us, and then we tied that in and said, right, what have you learned about elder? We start from a strengths-based perspective. It's not just a problem, it's about what can we learn from our elders. And but the provider of the platform said, we can't have that. We need a transcript of that, as if it's an oral tradition, as if, no, we've heard what he said, that, we want to know exactly what that means. We said, we had this really big battle, but we invited people, what did they know about the elders in their community, and we got 117 comments about that straight away, which was really, quite a nice way of building those alliances.
Was it all in English? I see you have people from India, Mexico, Germany.
Yes, it was in English.
All in English.
Yeah.
But did you say something about paying for
That's because we didn't have
subtitles?
resources, but if we had
That's
resources,
it.
we could do translations. Sorry, what did you say, Donna?
I thought Carmel said something earlier about you had translation.
Oh, we had
titles.
everything in subtitles.
Yes.
Everything
yes.
was
Okay.
captioned. All of our videos was captioned.
Yes.
Everything, all the materials.
In different languages.
Any visual materials were put into, text,
Mm-hmm.
so that we could have as much access as possible.
I'm just trying to. I don't know if it's letting me in. I hope so.
You got the title.
Yeah, I've got the title, but I want to. It's signed me out, and it's not signing me in.
I have.
Can you put?
No, I get so upset.
This should-
Yeah.
We're in.
Yeah.
Thanks, baby.
Yes,
Okay.
right, here we go, guys. Start again. All pay attention.
We're going to show you what we wanted to show you, which is what Trish is just describing, is the Indigenous. This karaoke was developed for us and only for this course by an elder Maori man who works with the Mataraki Centre. And he developed this for us, and it was also donated to us with a time-delayed photography, so we could play alongside it. And it was a blessing for our course, and we can only use it for this course. You can't use it for anyone else. And we had such a reaction to this. We thought we'd like to
This
just show it
really
with you.
set our course off on a lovely footing, I felt. Yeah. And also, if you haven't been to New Zealand, enjoy it.
We'll show you a
Because it's
little
really
bit of
like this.
That guy really looks like
So what you can hear is that when we had the fight with them, A, they didn't want it because they said it was religious. They wanted it not to do with education. And secondly, they then told us, even though it was an oral tradition, and we said, this is oral, they said, you have to have subtitles.
Yeah.
So we had to go back and get some sort of translation, and that's what you're seeing there. So there were certain restrictions, which was interesting. We initially, in our ignorance, and I have to say, very much not fully appreciating, we said, oh, to hell with it. It's too much problems.
Right.
And we said, forget it. And literally, we were 30 minutes from going live. This was at 11:30 p.m. We went live at 12 midnight because it's global. She was on the phone to Anna, who's her friend, and she was Skyping. And I texted her and I said, get excited because I said, it's going live in 30 minutes. And she said, I'm on the phone to Anna and they're desperately upset. And I said, and we're texting, I'm saying, why? She said, because we haven't used the blessing. We then fully appreciated the importance of this blessing. And I had to get my nephew literally, who's a young guy, I had to get him out of bed and say, you've got to help me get this on the system. So with about 10 minutes to go, we got this up here.
Wow.
But I had to put it in an educational framework. So you will see when we show you, we actually play this and then we tell them what it is, the learners, and then we say, what have your ancestors given you? What have your elders shared with you that's been important to you? We got the biggest response.
Yes,
to
I'm
this.
sure you
Wow.
did. I'm sure you did.
Rather than, what is the problem with
What's
drinking
the problem with drinking? We
people?
started here. How do you relate with your ancestry? How do you relate with your elders? How do you revere your wisdom?
Oh my God, what
It's
a
been
great
so
intro.
powerful. So powerful.
What?
I think this is why we
Thank
have.
us for this. Future Learn, because we did it and we didn't get it signed off, you have to get everything signed off. They didn't come back.
Wow.
They just left it. I think
Because they saw the
couldn't
power
believe
in
it.
it.
They couldn't see the power. The power.
How
They couldn't see it.
amazing. Yeah.
But the point is that we always start with the problem. What's the problem? You know, these people, older people are public services, and then we try to like reframe it. We start with what can we reflect on? What strengths have we got between us? You know, not many people, 8% of people came from New Zealand, of course, but it's about, you know, it might be something that's far away over there, but we can always learn, you know, across cultures, and we're trying to embed, because very aware, like we're the Brits, you know, we like to get about us Brits, it's always on a guilt trip, because we're always colonising people, being told all the damage that we've caused. But it's a bit like, we're not the, you know, we're not in charge here, this is a community, and we want you to engage with it and bring your own strengths.
So here you'll see just in terms of the learning, so this was the blessing just going back, and then at the end we tell them about it, and then you can see down here, having listened, what wisdoms and blessings have been passed down to you from your elders in your community. And then we had 117 responses, just to show you. My grandmother taught me to love and appreciate nature and to respect everyone. The older people I know in my life reinforce the belief, you know. So it just goes on and on like that, and just amazing stories.
This is like a qualitative focus group, isn't it?
Oh, it's absolutely amazing stories.
Is this a synchronous or an asynchronous?
No, it's basically we released every week. So you can always go back,
Uploaded it, yeah.
but we uploaded it, and we would send a message. A message goes out to all the learners saying, next week is coming, get ready, and then they log on for the
And a
next
summary.
week. And a summary.
But
and then they
log
would go
on
back.
together or log
No,
on?
no,
to-
so it's
Okay.
asynchronous.
Okay. No, no, that's fine.
It's over the globe. So
Yes, exactly. I was trying to figure out how you
And it
logistically do it.
stays, remains for 12 weeks, 10 weeks
10 weeks
afterwards, so
afterwards.
people can move at their own pace. And then we, even though we've completed the course over 5 weeks, we all took it in turns to visit each week, every week. So I'd visit week 1 for the next week. You know, the 4 of us, we go in and make sure we always respond and interact with
Right,
people who are going
So we're going
more
to take
slowly.
to week 3, and this is everybody has an opinion.
So
Up
week
here,
3
everybody
was,
has an opinion, which a lot of happens in addiction.
Yeah.
Everybody has an opinion about addiction. whether
Trump's
it's right
got a
or
good
wrong.
opinion about it.
Everybody has.
Oh, yeah, there you go.
He's got an opinion, he's not on there.
And you can see- so we have an introductory video with us saying hi, welcome to this week, and this is what we're going to cover.
Play it a little bit, just play it, it's only a minute, just to give you an idea of how we tried to, just a few seconds of
They
it.
say it's just helpful to engage the learner, obviously, if they
Sure.
see somebody rather than just everything in text.
Mhm.
So everybody see it's
With
a nice
branding.
branding. If you want to get your name out there, it's nice branding.
Hello again, and welcome to week 3, called Everybody Has an Opinion. As in our experience, problematic substance use is a highly emotive subject which appears to attract both informal and formal discussion, debate, and controversy.
See this comes from a workshop that we did recently on under people. It was, we got artists to illustrate our discussion, we used it as a backdrop. Cool. Yeah.
The very fabric of our lives in society at the level of the family and community. In this week, we have put together a series of short interviews and materials which capture current opinion about problematic substance use in later life. And we do this through the eyes of the older person, practitioners and providers, policy leaders and researchers. Towards the end of this week, and having heard all of these different viewpoints, we invite you to add your opinion during the webinar facilitated by
Yeah, we did a webinar as well. That was
If you're
live.
not able to attend the live session, then a recording will be made available for you to listen and review in your own time. Enjoy the week.
So we always had an introductory video, and then we always sent everyone an email, and then there was, within the platform, people can follow you, you can follow them, so that you can like network better.
You know, you keep using the term, instead of addiction, problematic
Yeah,
substance
I
use.
love it.
Was there, I was just
Well,
wondering.
because that's on purpose, because addiction is the end scale.
Mhm.
Problematic substance use starts way, way, way before addiction. So we want to talk about problematic. I mean, I would say, for instance, when I'm teaching and training people, I often say that if you forget legal and illegal drugs, I talk about substances and I talk about relationship with substances. That's the core of the conversation, is your relationship with the substance, not whether it's legal or I'm not a police person. I don't want to know about that. I'm a nurse, she's a social worker. What do I care whether you're using or not from a legal perspective? I want to know your relationship. So I will talk to them as an Irish person. They may be surprised to know I have a healthy relationship with alcohol. But I had a horrendous relationship with tobacco. So I was addicted to tobacco for about 25 years. I would now inject it in my neck if I could. Okay? I loved nicotine. Okay? I had a horrendous relationship. So I talk about relationship with the substance. Rather than, and then if you talk about a relationship, people start to get that. You can be like marriages or partnerships. People can be in, really bad relationships. And then you try and say, well, just stop, get out. Why the hell do you allow yourself to keep getting beaten? It's a very interesting kind of useful example to get people to really understand what addiction and drug use is like. You can't pull away so easily from it, no more than you can pull away from a relationship. So if you kind of get them away from just thinking about drugs as good or bad or legal, illegal, or soft or hard, and talk about relationship-based, then that problem from whose perspective? Problem from the state's perspective, from your perspective as a family member, as a practitioner, as an individual. And so people can relate to that language, and it's less pejorative than saying, and people don't like to think of themselves as addicted.
Well, and
so
that's
you want
right.
to be using language that engages people.
That's what struck me. Like, I might be willing to say I have a problem with the substance, and maybe in my brain back there I'm thinking, yeah, I'm probably addicted. But to say those words out loud to somebody else, it's very shaming. Yeah, and that's why I love that language, because I think it makes perfect sense.
Problematic and relationship. Two key words to use when you're engaging in the conversation, and it opens it to a whole different world.
I think it's really important when you're doing a really global thing like this, and like you
language
go
is
down
really
the road and say, we've got some psychiatrists, very experienced psychiatrists in addiction. What's the motive for them to join? There is a motive, because they need to learn the language that engages people.
Yeah,
right.
And at the end of each module, we had keep on learning. This feature
keep on learning.
Keep on learning. So we would put open access papers on opioids, substance use, and if you want to really keep on learning, or we have something that's more simple, a video, or so
we have keep recap of the week and keep on learning. You see that? And lots and lots of resources in there for them. Shall we show you just a very brief? This is one of the practitioners, and the reason we thought we'd share it with you is because this is Bill Lorman, who's from Philadelphia, and he talks about a service that he is running and is the senior practitioner or clinician for in Philadelphia.
He's the chief clinical officer at Living Rim Foundation.
I'm going to take you to the point where
Living Rim in New Salem.
And these, when we met people, we say, oh, you're interested in something, can you talk for 3 minutes?
Please leave your evaluations under my door.
So what we're going to do is give you just a snapshot of him telling you a story, a classic story of a service user who came into his service, who was an older abuser of opiates.
Oh, behind you. See that little knob?
Turn it.
Keep going.
there a volume thing?
Should it be on it's on the laptop, so.
Yeah. Oh, it's coming through
We
your,
have captured, or we have.
Oh, so
closed
can
You
caption.
can see, you can
Yes.
see the closed caption.
Yeah. So all of these, anyone we met in the last year,
I captured that on my iPhone at a conference with Bill.
It's amazing, isn't it?
obviously we got them to give permission.
She was, most of the year.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yep. Try. Well done.
I'll give you an idea.
So this story goes on, and just to tell you, the sad story here is it's lovely. And you know, we're gonna, this course is gonna run again in May, so you're all very welcome to join us, and you'll be able to engage.
We'll send you the link.
We'll send us
And
our
we'll
link.
send you the link. But this lady eventually, she was discharged from that service and detoxed. She was returned back into the community, as can happen without follow-up services and so forth. She re-engaged.
That's
And
very
she
good.
was actually found dead in a telephone box with a needle hanging out of her arm in the London street. And she was 68, 69. I mean, what a way to die. Okay? So this tells you, I mean, it's a really graphic example, but actually it's happening.
Yeah.
It's happening.
Sure.
And so, you know, these stories that we're getting and that we're on photo, we've got amazing stories from Brazil, from our colleague, Dr. Giovanni Vargas, who is a clinical nurse specialist, psychiatric faculty down in USP, in the University of Sao Paulo. And his story is on there, and he talks about grandparents who've never taken drugs, who are retired, they're looking after and engaging with their grandchildren. Their grandchildren are using crack cocaine, and they start using crack cocaine with their grandchildren. So he says, and they have no way of managing and dealing with it. So these are grandparents now using crack cocaine with their grandchildren. So fascinating round the world stories of things I'm going,
What?
exactly.
I mean, a lot of storytelling with people, but the discussion boards were really, really fascinating. Really.
Trish, yeah.
How much work has been done in the physiology behind this? Because of course, you know, that's what's, I mean, one hit and you're like, woo, and it's all, so how much?
So we cover this, we cover consequence, because obviously there's consequence and there's physical consequence. But if you're older, of course your metabolism is changing, you know, you're on other meds perhaps because of other comorbid issues going on. So in actual fact, older people sometimes, you know, how they are metabolizing and excreting these drugs out of their systems is even more profound and more difficult for them. So the impact is greater. So but what happens is that they're getting missed in emergency services because people are thinking this is early dementia or
Exactly, or an MRI, or respiratory arrest, right?
physical conditions. And so everybody's forgetting to ask them, sorry, are you drinking?
Are you
Right? Are you taking other drugs?
Right.
Nobody's asking those questions, and that's what's going on. But we're certainly there are more profound consequences because of the frailty and the aging process.
Well, and the other situation here, and particularly in the States, and I think it probably has been true in other countries, is that it's siloed. You've got mental health, and then you've got physical health, okay? And never the twain shall meet, and they really should. And in terms of, you know, the physiology, I mean, the biggest thing that we know is the neurobiology of, you know, what they call the reward pathway in the brain and the dopamine, and this is how people, and apparently there's a very, very interesting discussion that Carmel and Trish have told me about on this particular Future Learn problematic substance use about, is it or is it not really a neurobiological disorder? does it start earlier? And we're beginning to understand things like, you know, the ACE studies, as far as childhood consequences and that
Oh,
area.
geez, yeah.
And poverty,
Yeah.
you know.
So this course
social
touches a
environment.
lot on that and then gives you signposts
We gotta get them
to other areas.
We've gotta get them
But
together.
we're just really mindful of time, and we know that this may be eating into, and you'll have to move on. So if we can share this PowerPoint with you, but this just gives you some of the evaluation we've started looking at. It says 563 joiners from these countries. We had 1,200 people register for this course, but some people just come in and they learn. They don't engage. So you will get different variation of engagement, but that's okay because your brand is getting out there. So from the university, our university's point of view, they're very happy. We had 1,200 people now know the Middlesex University exists with Mataraki. So I'm sure that someplace like Weiner, you know, this gives you a profile out there that you've got faculty on staff, students are interested. She was at a TED Talk, TED Talk class, how to do a TED Talk, and somebody who came from one of the Scandinavian countries.
I don't know, from Slovenia.
Slovenia came up to her and she said, I know you. She said, I took your course and I know Carlo.
She's a pharmacist.
And she's a pharmacist. And so people, it's amazing how it gets out there. So all I'm saying is it's a really interesting from a branding tool as well. And that's why universities are happy to allow us to do this. This just shows you the country percentage of learners, age profile, and we can share, as I say, this with you. And then number of comments that came against certain things, you know, current profession, it was relevant, future study, past or current personal experience, 8%, you know, so I mean, you know, that's
experience.
interesting in and of itself.
In the same forum.
And 7% of
professionals.
families talking about their loved ones. And then general curiosity. So what we're looking for, just getting to call to action, is that we had a lovely meeting with your dean, Denise Gifford, Dr. Gifford, yesterday, with your dean here, with our social work colleagues, and we're looking to develop, hopefully in the next year, a memorandum of understanding or a memorandum of agreement between Middlesex and Winder. And that doesn't stop us getting off the blocks or out of blocks already, but we will be looking to do that to see whether we can start playing together. I think they call it dating. We're dating. And we're going to see if this develops into a lovely, beautiful relationship. But we're hoping to kind of engage with you guys in discussion around how could we take this subject and potentially other subjects forward. But we're really excited to maybe start with nursing and social work students and taking some of these materials offline, developing them online within our own respective institutions and bringing our students together just to play.
And I want to say in this forum, although we just lost Esther, that I really believe, as somebody who knows curriculum, we could send people to you in the community health course. It still works. And so it really makes this makes it very tough. Here's the person who needs, here's public health experience.
And I'm doing another Future Learn course. I've just got to put in the proposal next year on LGBT aging.
Oh, where's
again,
Lorraine?
this is where I
Where's
have
Lorraine?
older LGBT people come in and talk to professionals about this is what I need.
So it all starting to go into care homes now, and people aren't talking to them,
Yes.
they haven't come out.
Yes.
And so they're getting older and older and getting more and more isolated.
This is a very strong interest research program with one of our faculty members. the
Great,
LGBT
I must, because
that there's just no infusion
I'll
in
share
nursing.
your
I don't know
audio
about
with
social
them
work.
as
We're
well.
starting to
Send me
try
the
to get an
connection.
internet.
Yeah, and Lorraine and
I
Jen
go?
Speck now is interested. Jen Speck.
Lorraine,
Okay.
I go.
Okay, yeah.
But anyway, that's another one that I'm going to develop next year, and I'll be very happy to develop it jointly with the USA.
Wouldn't that be fabulous?
Yeah, wouldn't that be fabulous?
This is-
Like we
this
do with
is
Australia.
Dr.
and
Igo's
we can
dream.
do that. If you've got people interested in LGBT issues, not have to be aging, because I can do the aging stuff, and you know, then let's develop something, bring our students together. We don't want to make it supernumerary too much work. We want to put it into the curriculum.
Right.
So where people will touch on that in the curriculum, they can use these for 1 week or 4 weeks. I mean, say we did 3 weeks, they can use 3 weeks or 1 week, or, you know, if we structure it properly in individual bite sizes, then, you know,
And meeting
get an
online.
international experience,
But
meet
it's-
other students,
Yeah.
meet
Yeah,
older
absolutely.
people.
Yeah.
Meeting online. I mean, this is the point. This is where the digital is really very open to being exploited, and we're very excited by it.
That's a good word. It can be very positive.
Oh no, exploiting it.
Well, I know, after all,
After all,
So thank you for listening. Are
I'm
there
glad.
any
Yeah,
kind of other questions that people might have before, because I'm really just conscious we've sort of overshot slightly.
Those who want to, who are
Oh,
still
do we
here,
wanna-
okay with
is
that.
there anybody on Zoom who has a question?
Yeah, anybody?
They have to just complete the course. They don't, they just have to show that they've, they just have to show that they've done all of the exercises. It's online, so they.
Lauren or Susie or Marguita or Mercedes, do any of you have a question or comment at all here?
I really enjoyed the talk and knowing how different it is, how specialized it is in England compared to here.
I'm sorry, I'm having a hard time hearing, to be honest with you, Mercedes, but send me your comments and I'll make sure that they, that Trish and Carmel get them. And if you have any questions, just send them to me on email. And I'm sure we'll be happy to answer them as well. And that goes for all of you, okay?
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you for your time. Yeah, also, do we have the evaluation form? Okay, so, you'll be getting an evaluation form through your emails and fill those out and get them back, and then you'll get, your CEUs as well, okay?
Okay.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Thank you.
We hope that you found that interesting and because I did too.
Wonderful.
This year, and you always start with a message in a short, simple sentence. You have a hook. You give a bit of emotional, concrete, abstract content, which I think we've given you a bit of all of that. Then you have the call to action.
You did not disappoint.
You did
Not disappoint, thank you.
Yeah,
And when is
our
your TED
email
Talk?
addresses.
Oh.
I have them.
We're very, very happy
I have
while
them.
we're getting things set up to start talking on the email, sharing anything.
When
We'd
is
love to hear about your work.
When is your TED Talk? Oh, she's gonna go back. We're gonna get that. We're gonna get all our professors doing them. That's our
I'm
plan. for this
recording it
autumn.
in June.
In June. Great, wonderful, wonderful. But what we could set up, I don't know.
We could set up a Slack.
I know, I was just gonna say, we've just recently got into using Slack. I don't know if you've heard of Slack, which is a comms tool, which is like WhatsApp on steroids. And it allows you to open up different channels of discussion together in a closed community. So if that was of interest, particularly in developing our partnership and sort of taking it forward, I'm sure with Dana and colleagues and social work, we can look to see if we can set something like that up and you can ask people to join
And you know,
and then just start engaging in conversation and
Yeah.
ideas about how we would work together.
and I think that's a fabulous idea, and what we
It's
were
just
saying
off email,
earlier.
it's better off email because emails get lost. This allows you just to use
Yeah.
one place.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's actually a great idea. And what we were saying earlier about integrated care,
Yes.
you know, mental health care
Yes.
with physical health care.
Absolutely.
I mean, we could
You could
really
join
look
in
at that
with
with
others.
develop an elective course, you know,
Yeah.
to address those, because it's so needed, really.
The possibilities are endless.
They are.
That's exciting. Thank you very much. for your
We have
time.
to say goodbye to them,
Okay.
and we just gotta end the. And how do we just, end the meeting? It looks like they're already off
So
anyway.
at the end of recording, so Andrew, and then we gotta take his computer back.
Oh, okay. I have